Well, good afternoon. This is Keith with Positively Osceola, and here we are once again. One of my favorite things to do during the day, and that is to host one of our In the Loop live shows, and we do that seemingly nonstop, but we have a great time doing it, and that is because we love to communicate to the community, but also because we have really extraordinary guests every time we do these. And so we count ourselves as hugely blessed to be able to invite folks on that are way busy in the county, and yet they still come and say hello. And today is one of those days as we near that magical month of June. Those of us who are longtime residents in Florida, it means that is a special month when we prepare for hurricanes. So I have certainly a great source of information. That is the Emergency Managed Director here in Osceola County, and that is Bill Litton. How you doing, sir?
Hey, Keith. Good afternoon. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Doing great. Isn't it a kind of a cool little tech buildup where we just, bam, there you are.
Yeah, just bam, right there.
How you been?
Good. Thank you.
That's good. Well, like I said, I do appreciate you being here. We'll chat for a second, and then we'll make the official start here as
Perfect.
Facebook does all its magic algorithm work and lets people know we're hanging out. So how's your family?
Doing well. Thank you.
That's good. Good. Mine as well. That is the deal. And certainly I was up in New York. I'll let you know. I was up in New York for 2 or 3 days last week.
Oh, nice.
And sometimes we forget how different the temperatures are down here in the tropical areas.
True.
It's crazy. So we got a few people popping on here, so let's go ahead and make it official. Okay with you?
Sounds good.
Let's do it. Well, again, this is Keith with Positively Osceola, and I'm here with Bill Litton, who is the Emergency Management Director in Osceola County here. And I still kind of stumbled on that title, no matter what I do to it. So we appreciate you being here, Bill. And obviously, as I kind of edged toward it earlier, we're nearing that June 1 mark. It seems crazy. It seems like an hour ago we were celebrating the end of hurricane season, and then boom, we're here. So why don't you go ahead? I'm going to kind of turn it over to you. We've got some slides to kind of to help you a little bit to back up what you're doing. But
sure.
Again, super glad you're here, and just go ahead and kind of give us this base outlook of what you're looking at for June.
Okay, sure. Just a little recap from last year. We all knew that was a really busy season as well, falling behind that 2020 season that was unheard of when we went through all of our alphabet names and the Greek letters that have now been retired. But 7th consecutive year that we had preseason development that we've seen. So that's prior to June 1st that we've seen tropical formations out in the Atlantic. Most likely we'll start to see that again. We did have 4 major hurricanes last year. And then the 6th consecutive year that at least we had one Category 4 or Category 5 within that season. And unfortunately, one of those impacted our neighbors to the west out in Louisiana. Unfortunately, the second year in a row, almost the same area affected by Hurricane Ida, which was a huge producer and damages, over $75 billion worth of damages. And unfortunately, 55 deaths were lost in that. So really going on that as a beacon point. So we had 21 named storms last year. So to go right into the forecast and outlook for this year, I had the opportunity to attend the Governor's Hurricane Conference, one of our premier conferences that we have each year. Unfortunately, as everyone's been dealing with the pandemic and COVID-19, we were not able to get together the last 2 years. So this is the first time in person that all the professionals and responders and those that deal in the field were able to get together. And we spent some time with Dr. Phil Klossbach from Colorado State University last Friday. He provided us his research currently. He gave us his April forecast, which has not been changed or updated yet. He'll update his next forecast in June 2nd. So just around the corner. But again, he's calling for an above average season, 19 named storms, 9 hurricanes, and 4 of those being major. So definitely, if you compare that to the averages, which NOAA and the National Hurricane Center updated last year, they updated those averages. Normally they were 12, 6, and 3. Now we're looking at 14, 7, and 3. So definitely, above that, if we look at that. And there's a chance that we might see a little bit of uptick on these outlooks and forecasts, maybe looking forward to. He did let us into that information. Again, it only takes one of these storms to affect and have impact on our community and our families and our area here. So we definitely stress the importance of preparing now and taking action now to get ready. And we know we've got a lot of new visitors, new guests, and new residents here to Osceola County that have not been impacted by a hurricane. The last one that we had impact us was Hurricane Irma in 2017 that went up through the spine of Florida, really impacted most of the peninsula at that time. So definitely that was one for the record books too, looking at the impact that had and, what affected our area. We were very fortunate with Dorian in 2019. Our brothers and sisters over there in the Caribbean didn't fare as well, but we were fortunate that did make that turn, because if that did come across the state of Florida, that would have been a huge impact for us on that one. But now's the time to take the action, prepare, look at those type things. And with our residents and new visitors and guests that are coming into our county, now's the time to probably get a little bit of education. So some of the things that we'll be doing here, we're encouraging those people to look at their homes now. We're still, encouraging those, if you're in a site structured built home, you're primarily pretty good to stay put and stay intact. Our shelters, our emergency shelters that are at our school locations, we work a great partnership with Dr. Pace and her team. Sure. Every year we do a school survey. We've selected our school locations for this year for emergency shelters. But they're a place of last resort. We key the phrase, is there a lifeboat, not a cruise ship? And we have moved down. We will move down to our normal square footage. So during COVID, it was 60 by 60. We will move back to a 20 by 20 square foot spot, but we'll still have, standards. We'll still have the cleaning and the sanitizer and those type things, but those items will be there. So, but we encourage residents now to take the time to plan. If you've got family that are out of the area and you can go and stay with them or not in the immediate impact zone, maybe make those plans, look those now. If you've got family members that are on medical needs or need electrical power or medical care, now's the time to register those for our special needs registry. You can find that information through our website, readyosceola.org. We have a great partnership with the Department of Health and the Osceola Council on Aging. And those people are vetted through that process and work through that. We have an excellent team there that works through that. But we also encourage those that, know your neighbors around you, especially if you got a shut-in or an elderly person that might be staying at their home during the storm. Check on them before the storm and also after. Or, if they need to, if they'd like to, maybe have them come over and stay with you through the storm or the high impact of the winds and make sure they're safe and secure, and then help them maybe after the storm to check on their home, and if there's things need to be cleaned up or debris needs to be picked up, give them assistance. Those are big things. We talk about the disaster kits, family disaster kits. Several years ago, we made the change on that from a 3-day kit to now a 5-day. We know that services might be out for a little bit more impactful, right. And we know the federal government is going to take a little bit longer possibly to get here. We saw that with Maria. We saw that with Irma. The amount of storms that FEMA dealt with that year definitely showed the need for individual preparedness. And the FEMA administrator last week really was critical on that too, was, partnering with our communities and partnering with them to really take the need and show the need for individual preparedness and getting ready now. Don't wait until the last minute. We both know, and there's the individuals that'll wait until 3 or 4 days out. They see the storm cone and, oh, wait, let me go to the storm now. And we know now how the supply lines have been impacted by the pandemic. We see that with the baby formula currently, and it can just exaggerate those items as we get closer if there is a storm sitting off the coast of Florida. So be prepared now. Get those kits together. At least 5 to 7 days of water and food, canned food, those items that your family might like to have. Also, don't forget about your pets. Their family members as well. Have those items or medical supplies. Your prescriptions have ready as well. And then look around your house. If there's things that could become projectiles or flying out debris that you don't want to be flying into your neighbor's home or down the street from you, take those actions now, especially debris or branches, those type things you can clean up and get ready before the season. I always encourage our residents, now is the time to do a little bit of an insurance checkup. Get with your insurance agent, have them review that. We all know the insurance deductibles here in the state of Florida are very high for hurricanes, but it's always good to review those as things are changing. As we see, that's a hot item for our legislation right now with property insurance. And now is the time to sort of review your policy. If there's any tweaks that need to be made, now is the time to look at that as well. And for those that don't have it, even if you're in a flood zone, I encourage those that are not in a flood zone or, what we call an X zone that are not in the 100-year floodplain, I would encourage you to get flood insurance. And the reason I say that is if there's any water damage or hurricane damage from the water that comes into your home, that is not covered by your homeowner's insurance policy. So that is money that you're going to be responsible for. But if you do take that extra step, do the National Flood Insurance Program, that gives you that extra, backing and security blanket that you'd be covered as well. We were fortunate just a few months ago, we made the announcement with our community rating system, which is part of the National Flood Insurance Program. Some of the programs that we've gone in with that and scoring that goes through with our county that we are evaluated on every so often. We've now lowered our class, which is, it sounds a little, different when you're looking at ratings, but as you go down, it's better for the community rating system. So we've gone to a class 5, which is now a 25% reduction on premiums on the flood insurance premium for our residents here for flood insurance. So that's a definitely best win. So anywhere, like if you're not in a flood zone, average estimate, maybe $400 and $500 a year for that policy, just to add on for that, cost savings and security, especially if water damage comes in, because you know how impactful that would have and the other damage that could happen after water intrudes in the home as well. So
you made a really great point. I'm not sure people are thinking this way. I'm not sure I think this way. I haven't lately, maybe. There have got to be a ton of people that have heard of hurricanes and probably hear things like, well, plenty of warning, so not a problem getting out of the area, unlike a tornado, and that would be not inaccurate to say. But when you've lived through these, my wife was just very smart lady, was just saying this the other day, we really have to really look at, not assume that we have everything we need.
Right.
And to wait, it is, pardon the expression, it can be hellish to navigate the retail centers of the in our area to try to get things situated supply wise. And if you haven't gone through that, it's pretty darn challenging. Sometimes it's not all that safe because people are out going pretty wild to get things done. And we have so many people that have moved here. I remember hearing, I think before Charlie, I can remember hearing people say, well, yeah, it's okay because Osceola counties, though, we're inland. And by the time a hurricane or tropical storm would make its way to the center of the state, it's certainly going to be much more tame. And certainly there's a diminishing, but not one that we would notice in the midst of a storm.
Correct. Right. And those things too that, a lot of people don't take for granted that we do every day, from filling your gas tank to stopping at the ATM. So those are other two things I always encourage you to do, a couple days out, go ahead and top off your gas tank, get that ready, and then go ahead and get some cash. Because if the power is out, things like normal, things that we do from ATM and maybe even the credit card machines might not be functional. So it's good to have that extra as a backup as well.
Sure. I think if we, most of us realize the value of a propane tank and a grill outside the house, right?
Very true. Very true.
So do you think that, I know, and I said we wouldn't get too much into the pandemic scenario, but I look back when I thought about preparing for this discussion today, I look back in the actually you had come to Osceola County, was not that long before you were baptized with some pretty severe storms.
Right.
So do you look back though and say, okay, so since or looking to that day, how much your organization and your team has really developed or held to the fire basically through the pandemic and the numerous storms? Do you think we're from your perspective, do you feel like we're in a better position as far as the preparedness from the emergency management side? Do you feel like things are better on that end?
I do on that side, I think, because the partnerships, the collaboration, and the exercise and training that we do constantly with our external partners, our first responders that we do, and even, through COVID, even though we were virtual and doing things, we were still doing, drills and trainings and bringing those in. And I think our residents that have lived here for quite a while, and I would say over 5 years, because that period of storms has been very active over that time, but or those before, really know and take heed. I mean, if we look back before 2004, and we had that hurricane amnesia, we used to call it, and we had no break, and people would say, oh yeah, it's hurricane season, but then they would say, oh, nothing's going to happen. I think people have really taken heed and sort of, yes, let me go ahead and take those steps now before the peak of the hurricane season or those big ones spin up. But I think it's a constant education for us, especially as we've seen the home market and the influx of new residents here in the state of Florida that are not acclimated to the tropical systems or the hurricanes. For one thing, the hurricane is one thing, and if we do have a fast moving system, that'll probably move over our system pretty quickly, and we might get a good amount of rain. But if we do have a tropical system that's slower,
right,
and drops a lot of rain from 8 to 10 inches, that's going to be a lot of impact here in inland flooding. That'll cause a lot of concern for us as well.
Let me ask you this. So a lot of new people in the area, and glad to have them. Want them to know how, but we want them to know how to get the information from you. So, and from the county. So why don't we go ahead and, if you would, let people know that may not have ever been through this, how do they get best notified?
Correct. We definitely want them to go to a reliable source. So one of the first ways that we can push out information is through our mass notification system, Alert Osceola. So they can register right on our website, alertosceola.org. You can actually use the QR code that's shown there on the screen now, or you can go to, you can actually text Alert Osceola to 888-777, and that will take you directly to our registration page for Alert Osceola. what that allows us to do is push out emergency notifications in a time of disaster. We might push out information on road closures, shelter openings, shelter closures. If we had, points of distributions open, those type things, we can share with the public through that. But it also, our system allows us to actually becomes a special system for our residents that register for that as another weather radio. So if you do not, I encourage all of our residents to get a NOAA weather radio to have that as a backup communications device as well. But our alert Osceola system allows us to push those features to our public too on their phones. So for tornado warnings and flood warnings, those are automatically pushed that are once that polygon is dropped from the National Weather Service in Melbourne, that'll automatically be pushed to those individuals that have registered for Alert Osceola. They can go a step further. I know we weather geeks, we like to get a lot of information. So they can actually register for severe weather. And we know the ones that have lived here for a long time, you can almost set your clock to it. In the summer months around 3 p.m., you're going to get those thunderstorms. Well, if it's a severe thunderstorm, you'll get those notifications too. It's another layer of defense that we have. And then you can actually put in different addresses. So if you have your children's school location or another family member's location, you can put that into and you get alerted. So that's one of the first places. Our second area is our social media, either on Twitter or Facebook. We will put out information through that. So definitely use vetted sources. We will share, definitely our information, the state information, and the National Hurricane Center in the National Weather Service in Melbourne as our source of vetted information during a time of emergency or a hurricane here in the county.
So I know you kind of you were beginning when the show started, you were kind of leaning towards this. So for those people who may just have popped in toward the end, certainly the primary deal here is to be prepared, not take things for granted, be aware. And I know you mentioned insurance. I think I'm going to assume the predominant amount of people typically only call their insurance company when rates go up or after something takes place. But in reality, wouldn't it not be wise for people to reach out and say, look, let's go over this, make sure I'm covered, I know what we're doing?
Correct. And I can remember back, when my family, when I was growing up as a youth, we almost had those annual updates with your insurance, the family did. And I think we've gotten away from that a little bit, but if you can sort of make that an annual schedule, even before we start April, May timeframe, and then you're done and you can, check that off your list. But I really think, get more people educated on that and understanding, those deductibles and the cost of that. And especially, like when we talk about the flood insurance and the value that plays for families as well.
Excellent. So. Well, a lot of great information, and I guess in the inside of in my thinking, I want to believe that everybody will take this seriously, and I'm just not sure of, have we gotten a little numb because of the pandemic, or have we, and this is kind of, I know I'm kind of repeating this scenario, but, or have we said, I got to be on top of what's going on. You can't expect that life's going to be without problems. Life is problematic. Where do you think we're at? I mean, do you think people are tuned in a little bit more, or do you think we're kind of numbing a little?
I think they're tuned in a little bit more, especially like I've said, the rate and the amount of storms or tropical systems that we've had in a year. Even though we were separated by the pandemic, I think that gave people a little bit more sense of information and a sense of individual preparedness as well. Like we pushed that message last year, especially with COVID, and a lot of people on that, we totally understand that, that if they could stay home and, if we opened up shelters, then, they're there for them, but we also wanted to protect them from the pandemic. But at the same point, we'll, as we move forward from the pandemic, having those places in need. And I think having that information is the most valuable piece too. So I'll throw into this now too, trying to educate the public is probably our biggest important piece of our job and our focus too. So one of our things that we'll be doing here in the next couple of weeks, May 28th, we'll have our Hurricane Expo and Touch a Truck event at Osceola Heritage Park Event Center. So from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., we're going to have the experts from any field and all the first responder agency, all these specialty vehicles. That'll be set up there, but you can actually talk to the experts there, learn about what should be in your kit, learn about different other impacts and things to get you ready for hurricane season. So we've tried to make this an annual event. Unfortunately, we could not do it the last 2 years, but we're excited to meet with the public and get now in person again. So this will be our annual event that we can really showcase and get people ready for the season.
And just coincidentally, I had that graphic.
Yeah, look at that.
Got to do things right?
Right. And, we look at, we want to provide that information and training to the public. We'll be doing the same thing for our county and our partner agencies as well. So on June 2nd, we'll have our annual hurricane exercise here as we get ready to test our team and our EOC response team and getting them through the motions to get ready for a response here in the county as well.
Very cool. Well, we appreciate you guys all very much. Certainly Andrew Sullivan is who we very often get to speak to as far as communications. He does a great job, and as well do you, sir. And I'm always in awe of how smoothly things go from your side. So we appreciate all the work you do. I mean, for us, we talk about hurricane season being, June into November, but for you, it's 12 months of the year for sure. And so we appreciate you. I'm going to put one more time. I'm going to put that the emergency alert sign up. And that's a big deal. And again, I remember when that first got ramped up, and it's certainly a great idea. And I'm sure it's saved countless lives already. Anything more you want to say before we close out?
No, I appreciate it, Keith. I appreciate your partnership through the years and continued partnership. You're, really a force multiplier for our team. We're a team of 6 here on the EM team, and helping get the word out is our critical need for our residents and visitors here.
Well, it's a big deal, and it's about life and death, or life or death. So we're happy to be able to help in some small way. You guys are the big work out there. So we thank you for all the heavy lifting, you and the whole team, and certainly Osceola County. And a couple of weeks out, I would like to invite you to come back just before the season starts, literally, which is only a couple of weeks. Is that something you can possibly do?
I definitely can. Definitely too. We might have a new update for you then too, and a new outlook. So
hopefully the update is everything seems to be very mellow.
Yeah, we hope so.
I know. All right. Well, I thank you so much, Bill, for being with us today.
Thank you, Keith. I appreciate it.
You got it. Again, this is Keith with Positively Osceola here with the Emergency Management Director, Bill Litton, in Osceola County, together making a positive difference in and around Osceola County. Be prepared, everybody.